I can't. Just January, February. New York is, without a doubt, the greatest city in the world. But January, February, the fucking worst.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Repeater. My name is Evan.
And I'm Patrick.
And today we are joined by the incredible Woody Fu.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm not incredible. I'm indelible.
Ooh.
Yeah, I made a magic marker.
Yeah. What's indelible mean?
I think it's you can't delible it out. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I'm inedible. You can't eat me. That's what I meant to say.
That would be good. But we are all edible. We know this.
This is true.
You know.
This
Come
is
on.
true.
Let's
I
not.
was just trying to prevent people from wanting to eat me.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's true. I think that's been a commonality amongst all of human history is to be prevented from eating, right?
I think
Save
so.
yourself.
I think that's the purpose
That's
of
the
life.
root of fight or flight response, as I understand it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. This is a music podcast for people that have never listened to this before. This is Repeater. We talk to people about songs that are important to them. And this season, we are talking to people about songs that got them through the last year. But before we dig into the last year, we're just going to talk about some music that we've been listening to lately. Pat?
I have been listening to the Ergs. Hindsight is 2020, my friend. Just leaving work the other day and was like, I need a good long punk album to listen to. So downloaded that one and been listening to it a whole bunch.
Are they like modern pop punk? Like, what is their?
They're modern-ish, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Jersey pop punk.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song on this album that's just the Peanuts theme, which is great, and it's called, I'm pulling it up right now.
Love a good like earnest / ironic pop punk cover.
It's fun,
Yeah,
and it like really shows how talented of musicians they are. It's just Linus and Lucy. That's great. But a song on here that I really enjoy is Books About Miles Davis. And yeah, they're just kind of fun, sometimes real quick, hard hidden punk songs. And then Books About Miles Davis is like a fun, like love song. So definitely check it out.
Vince Guaraldi, fellow Cancer. He was born a day before me.
There you go.
July 17th.
You have so much in common.
Yeah, so much in common.
Something I've been listening to very recently is the song Remind Me by Emily King. This is a relatively new artist to me, and I guess she just put out a new album. It's called Scenery. I think it came out this past week, and this is the first track on it. So it's like first track on a new album, and it's great. It's kind of funky, poppy, soulful. It's really good. I think like this will be a new artist to me that I will get into.
Is she throwback like Sharon Jones or?
No. Much more like contemporary. I would put her somewhere in the pop spectrum probably in general, but with kind of like a little bit of I don't know, more like neo soul kind of like sprinklings or just contemporary R&B type stuff a little bit in there. But she's poppy. Kind of reminds me a tiny bit of like Christine and the Queens, which is a French act, I believe, pop act. But I don't know. She's sort of new to me, but she's cool.
Cool.
Remind me, it's a good, like, very good first track on an album. Yeah.
And that's 20. That's a new band. She's a new artist.
Emily King, yeah. I think this is at least her second album. So I don't know that she's new. She's new to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely fell off on like music consumption.
Yeah.
Like I used to be a DJ and I used to like actively hunt it down and like stay on top of like new releases, new artists, new remixes or whatever. And now I completely do not at all.
It's a lot.
It's so much. It's endless. But it's worth it. I mean, like it's very rewarding when you're like, oh yeah, I found this thing. It's great. Now I was just looking at my Spotify. I was like, what am I listening to? And the thing I've been listening to the most apparently is Brian Eno, because I'll go to like hotels to work and like mooch off their Wi-Fi, and then like there's all these like finance bros having conversations next to me. I'm like, I need to listen to something that basically drowns it out but is pleasant. You know what I mean? And like all the Spotify like curated playlists are always like down tempo cafe and like chill out vibes, and I'm like, I hate all of this. So like I just put, and like it's like Brian Eno's just like, it's just like tones, you know. It's just like for like half an hour, and it's very nice because it effectively creates white noise and like can let me like ignore what's happening. So the music I've been listening to has been like not music.
Yeah. That's cool.
I do the same thing when I need to get like a lot of work done though, is just throw on as quiet as possible ambient music.
Yeah. It's just white noise. You just need something to make white noise, essentially.
Yeah, and Bandcamp will put together like best of ambient music lists, and those are kind of fun because sometimes they get a little more video gamey. But there was one that I found that they categorized as music, and it was just field recordings from a stream. And it was like great because it was just like a babbling brook, and every once in a while there'd be a bird.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's transportive.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's wonderful. But on today's show, we're going to be talking about a little bit about the last year. So to set the stage, Pat and I are just going to offer up a couple touchstones of the year that was. Pat, what's the first touchstone?
Black Panther came out.
Yes,
Black Panther. And it was so good.
It was very good.
Good movie.
Good movie. Dominated pop culture in a lot of ways, right? Super fun. We all saw it.
Great soundtrack.
Incredible soundtrack.
Yeah. I believe that was somewhere on our top albums of last year list that we did. Soundtrack ruled.
Yeah, that was. I listened to that at the gym a lot. It's very good for gym.
That's
gymming.
Definitely good gym music. It was cool. I don't think I've seen a lot of people show up for a premiere the way people were showing up for Black Panther. Like I don't remember anything quite that big since I want to say the special edition of Star Wars was coming out when I was like 12 or something like that.
Never has a call to arms been as effective.
I mean, and that's, my memory is not that great, so this could have been way more effective for Black Panther.
I mean, the first Star Wars, there was like an army of nerds. They were so excited because that was when hope was high, because no one knew like how bad George Lucas was gonna poo-poo on the franchise, but like everyone like showed up in good faith, like ready to see Phantom Menace. That was the first one, right? Was Phantom Menace the first one?
Phantom Menace was the first of the prequels. Yeah. My gosh, who knew?
Yeah, but
we were so naive. We didn't know.
Yeah.
At least people showing up in costume for Black Panther got treated with an incredible movie.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The hype was justified.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's totally true.
And what was another thing that happened in 2018?
We had a royal wedding. The royal we had a royal wedding, which I get personally is a thing I don't care about. But
it's big. It happened.
It was a big thing an American was one half of the wedding, which I guess is a big thing, right? Meghan Markle, that's her name. So like, I guess this was the first one we could have cared about as Americans.
Right.
So that's cool. It was also cool as she's a woman of color. That's like a big to do. So people were psyched about it for, good reasons, I guess. But I guess I just don't really care about the general, like, the conceit of like a royal wedding in general.
The thing about the royal wedding that I think that captures people's imaginations is that it is like as close as we can get to like a modern fairy tale kind of thing. So it's like royal wedding and like, lineage, and like there's a whole, like the formal quality of it, if you want to believe in a princess fairy tale kind of story, like that's as close as we can get to it.
Yeah. But there are like numerous royal weddings around the world, right?
True.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's like, and obviously Britain is this powerhouse of the last however few hundred years or whatever, and so that's part of why it captures our view, and I guess it's in English, that helps.
Yeah, we understand
but
what's
like
happening.
But that's one side of it, is like it's definitely the most accessible, the most familiar, like the one that Americans would maybe be the most used to looking at. But at the same time, it's also like the country we fucking ran away from and hated. Like this country, the America got founded because we were like, fuck Britain, like we don't like you guys at all. And now it's like all this flash forward a while, and we're kind of obsessed with them getting married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it also comes with like this big, boisterous party.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like a leftover thing from like
it's a vestige. It's like a vestigial bone or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't know. It's bizarre. But I did stumble across an Instagram the other night that was just, it's photos, I think, of, what is their names? William and Kate's son, who's maybe 5. It's photos of that kid making like snarky faces, photoshopped in with Meghan Markle. And it's all just like criticisms about her, but from the standpoint of like this child. And I was like, why is this somebody's entire Instagram?
Because there's an audience for it.
Yeah, that's
And I just
bizarre.
there's more of an audience than I thought there was.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like the wedding, I get that. That seems far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's heavily scrutinized. You know, like by like fashion lens, through a pop culture lens, through like just general like media lens. Just because it's also just because like, you know, the last year was so bad that like any kind of fluff piece is like, oh boy, let's like really nosh on this for a little bit.
Sure.
There was a music highlight from the royal wedding that was, I think, the only part of it I watched, which was that the Kingdom Choir sang "Stand By Me," the Benny King song, which was like sort of the part of the choral part of the ceremony that was like this olive branch to the Americans in the audience and I guess to Meghan's culture in general. But it was beautiful. It was like a very, very wonderful version of that song. Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, that is nice. Oh,
not bad.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, stepdad England.
Yeah.
That I was otherwise mad at.
We appreciate you. But what is the song that you brought to share with us today?
Oh man, I brought "Endless Bummer" by Weezer
Awesome.
from their White album.
Cool.
Wait, so you haven't heard it before, right?
We had not until you told us to listen to it. Okay. I think I might have heard it because I've listened to this album, but I never was like, this song in particular.
It apparently was my #1 Spotify song last year. And and just before we get into it, just like backlog, I feel like any discussion of Weezer requires you to like chime in on like everything they've done ever because it's part of Weezer. But I'm definitely like of the contingent of people. It's like the first 2 albums are amazing, and then the rest are basically fine to shitty.
Yeah.
And like there was a period where I was going to the gym, and every day I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to listen to a full Weezer album that I don't know. And there's like at least a dozen Weezer albums that are like in the interim that like no one knows, and they're all really bad. Yeah. Like I couldn't get through a single one of them. Like the Red album has his bass player singing on one of them for some reason. Like there's maybe like 10 albums, and of those 10 albums, I would say maybe like 8 good songs cumulatively that you could pull from, that you could extract.
I think there are, I mean, we can get into more, but it's like they were real bad for a while, and then I think they at least kind of had a couple albums in recent years that they sort of were like showing us that if they wanted to, they could still be okay.
Right, which is core to the frustration of being a Weezer fan.
They like prove every once in a while that like they're likable, and then they go ahead and release the fucking Teal album.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Just to like kick you in the face.
It's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back. They always give you just enough where you're like maybe, and then you like open the door a little bit, and then they like do their cover of like "Take on Me" or something.
Well, speaking of just enough, let's listen to a clip of this song. We're just gonna listen to a bit of it here.
Great. So this is "Endless Bummer" by Weezer. And this is the end of the song.
Yeah. It's like the 3/4 mark.
Yeah. Before this, it was all a slow acoustic song.
Yeah. But now we're building.
And now
as
we're
we
building.
can tell. And this is genuinely enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm into this.
And then now the guitar player is going to friggin' shred. He's going to friggin' shred. Oh, my God. Here it comes. Here it comes. Oh.
And it's such a good guitar solo that comes out of nowhere.
It's a sweet, sugary Weezer classic. I love it.
This is like the platonic ideal of Weezer in my mind. Just like this, like
little melodic solo. Well, that's enjoyable little clip, but you should listen to the song, everyone. It's I would say it's worth listening to, but that's my opinion. Pat, what was your first impression of this song?
My first impression of this song, all I could think about is that one Rolling Stone interview with Rivers Cuomo I read, where he talked about how he has a formula to write songs.
Right.
And this song, it's such a middle of the road Weezer song for me. And I listened to it a couple of times, and once I read the lyrics, I was like, okay, well, I think part of the reason why this isn't really striking a chord right now with me is like, it's a sad song. It's like a sad song about a breakup or like just having a hard summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's currently the middle of winter and I'm having a pretty okay weekend. So like that's not really resonating.
Right.
But you know, the end where it picks up is pretty cool. And then I looked it up to see like where in the discography this album came out. And yeah, there's way more Weezer records than I thought there were.
Oh, yeah. There's albums that you forgot existed, like Hurley.
Right.
Hurley, Raditude, and what's the other one that's right in that same... it's like
Make Believe was the beginning of the end.
But those 3 in a row, there were 3 in a row right there that were just like all very weird. What the fuck was it? We have computers. We can look this up.
They're all completely forgettable, which is why we're forgetting them.
Yeah.
But I just didn't realize that they had also gone into more like color album names.
Yeah, they kind of doubled down on that. I think they also like feel it's like an artistic redefinition every time they do it. They're kind of like, hey guys, now check us out.
Sure, and I think saying that this is the White Album is very presumptuous to be like, we're gonna piggyback off of the Beatles' White Album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I get. This is a good song for Weezer, but my first impression, it didn't really hit anything for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will say that the emotional resonance was because I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this album a shot. It was produced by I think this guy Jason Sinclair, who like basically like gave him. I read the All Music.
Jake Sinclair.
You should read the All Music thing about it because it's very interesting. Because he basically gave Rivers Cuomo like a writing assignment. Okay. He was like, I want you to make the like spiritual successor to the Blue Album. And what does that mean? So the whole thing is like very California, very Beach Boys homage, and like very like back to basics. There's another song on it called on the album called Do You Want to Get High, which is straight up just a Pinkerton song. Like it sounds like it was produced like a Pinkerton song, which is amazing. And the song again is fine, but you hear it and you want it to be a Pinkerton song. So like, and that's the core Weezer thing. Like it draws all the goodwill, all the emotional goodwill that they built when you heard them, like when you were a teenager or whatever, and you're like, this is amazing, and this is, this really speaks to me. And they really still. That's the frustrating thing about his voice, is that Rivers Cuomo's voice is like, whenever he does sing and he like sings the right things in the right note, you're like, oh yeah, like this emotionally hits me. Yeah. Even if the latter day stuff is horrible. Like Morrissey does the same thing. Like latter day Morrissey, there's a lot of terrible songs, but like his voice is still Morrissey's voice. They
have that tool that they can like use against you whenever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 albums, I think we said them all, but they released albums in 2008, 2009, 2010, back to back, which is Red Album, Raditude, and Hurley.
Oh yeah.
Which are just, I mean,
stinkers.
There's definitely no worse part of their career than those 3 years.
Although Red Album does have one amazing song on it called The Greatest Man That Ever Lived.
Yeah, that's like the one song on that album.
Yeah.
My first impression of the song, I wrote some notes, which was I didn't want to like it at first, obviously. I figured this was going to be another Island in the Sun, but I did find it like it stays more surprisingly kind of like sincere and laid back. Like it doesn't like immediately venture into, I think, the formula that he uses. Like he kind of is like, actually, we're just going to kind of chill for a while.
Yeah.
Until
it does feel sincere, I think.
Yeah, until almost 3 minutes into the song, which like I think is outside of his formula, and then, I like think like the end is cool, comes out, crescendo is really nice. And then at the end, there's beach sounds. And I got to say, I'm a sucker for some beach sounds. So
beach sounds A+.
Yeah. So, we've touched on it a little bit, but why was this song the song that got you through the last year, you think?
I think there's a big, I think in general right now, everybody's like, ugh. But I think, and so for that reason, anything that's like escapist or harkening back to a simpler time is always going to resonate. I think that's why everyone loves Marvel movies now, because like the world is so bad that like that level of escapism is like what everyone needs to consume, and why shows like Breaking Bad are not like super grim TV shows like Breaking Bad do not do well right now, because like the world is bad, and why would we escape? I feel like only in the Obama era could we have been like, Breaking Bad, let's watch something that makes us feel terrible for hours. Because in general things were pretty good, relatively speaking, and so that's part of it. And I think, I don't know, for some reason like it was a grower on me also. Like this song, I didn't hear it and I was like, all right. I think the more I heard it, the more I found ways to get into it. And I think it really is like a throwback, but in a not calculated way to earlier Weezer. Like the songs are very like the character that's singing is very weird and like outcasty and like and like there's always like images in it that are like very specific to like these weird summer adventure this kid is on, which all really felt, I don't know, it was something that I could latch onto. I think.
Yeah.
It also does feel, as you were kind of saying, the writing assignment or whatever was to write a spiritual successor to the Blue album. Is that what you said? The notion that he's even just singing a song about I want summer to be over because summer is the sad time of the year seems like a thing that I'm like, yeah, if I was there's probably a version of me in high school or a version of me post early Weezer albums that's like, yes, that is relatable. Thank you.
Yeah.
Summer is not always fun. Why do people think it's fun?
Yeah. It's a total teenager feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this thing that people like, no, it's not always likable.
Yeah.
I can find a way to hate it.
Yeah. It's like my romantic life was a total like burnout this summer. Like the summer sucks. Like that kind of like kid feeling.
Everybody's making out at parties and stuff.
Yeah, except for me. Yeah. That kind of feeling I think is still what that band and his voice specifically can still tap into for me, even though like the themes of it don't resonate. I don't walk around being like, oh, I don't get to kiss girls or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that I don't think that on a daily basis as much as I used to. But like, but when the stars align and he like has the right song and the right melody and he sings it a certain way and the guitar plays a certain way, it's like it all mainlines directly back to like me as like 20 years old or whatever. Yeah. And I think that's what it was with that song specifically, more than any other song on that album.
Totally.
It does. And you said this a little bit before, but it does have like a Beach Boys kind of vibe to it.
Totally.
And like that nostalgia. It's Weezer does the Beach Boys, and it's like a perfect nostalgia just to thinking back to when those were things you were thinking every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of Weezer songs are bad.
Yeah.
A lot of Weezer songs are so bad.
And mostly, I think just they're very like middle of the road.
Yeah.
And
that's what's tragic about them.
Yeah. I think you even said at the beginning, you were like, there's a few good albums and everything else is good to fine or something like that. And I was like, yeah, like I rarely am like, fuck this song. It sucks so hard. I'm usually just like, this is boring. Like, it's fine. It's music like that we could consume, but who is choosing to do so?
Right. Unless you have some weird emotional investment in wanting to, which I think people who were fans of them at one point still kind of do, and that's what's being tested every time they do anything. I think
we're already kind of going there. I mean, this could be the Weezer episode because it's they recently, at the time of this recording, recently released the Teal album, which we mentioned earlier, which is a album of covers.
Yeah, which is always like, oh, something doesn't smell right.
Pat and I have previously on the show kind of fawned over the Africa cover because we were like following it on Twitter as this 14-year-old girl was like trying to convince Weezer to cover Africa, which I think is
that why they started?
Yeah. It was like a single purpose only Twitter account, which was, Weezer cover Africa.
And so Weird Al is only in the video, or Weird Al sings the song?
I think he's just in the video. No, he's not on.
So
or does he play keyboards on it or something like that?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. I think I saw a video of him like joining them on the song, but I don't think he sings on it at all.
Okay.
No.
I was confused because also it was such a weird, because the video is a cover of the Sweater Song video.
Right.
And at first I was like,
he's lip syncing Rivers, right? That's what.
Yeah. So it was like the whole thing. I was like, there's so many layers of what is happening right now.
The video was stupid, but the journey of like this kid just having a dumb goal and Weezer being like whatever. Like I would think the combination of like secure enough and just like fun enough to sort of not take themselves too seriously to be like, yeah, okay, we'll cover it. I like loved that story. I thought it was like, oh, the internet's good sometimes.
But also Rivers has always like very carefully not burned his audience twice in a sense, because like ever since like Pinkerton and then he renounced it and then his fans hated him again or whatever, he's been very careful to like build inroads towards like maintaining that kind of openness with his, like he did all these projects where like he would get all these fans and each one had a guitar and they'd all play live together, or like he would do these tutorials on YouTube where he's like vlogging how he writes a song, where he goes through his like weirdly like spectrum-y process of like math, creating the song through math. So I feel like he's always been like very like quick to jump, like over eager to jump on like viral opportunities like that.
Well, and it, you know, and obviously they had to like record it and stuff, but it like lasted a while. That campaign took almost a year, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I think also the cute thing that they did with it was they first trolled her by releasing a different Toto cover.
What did they
The
cover?
week before, Susanna, is that the name of the song?
Susanna, yeah.
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 So they did that one first, and then the next week released Africa.
Which
but
is
then
funny
they didn't
'cause-
put Susanna on the album. They only put Africa on the album.
Also, Weezer has their own song called Suzanne, which is hilarious.
yeah.
That's really funny.
So it's like kind of loved that, but then again the push and pull, the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, whatever.
Yes.
It's like I was kind of like in a real pro Weezer mood the last year and a half,
And then
they
they
fucking released the Teal album directly ahead of their Black album, which.
Yep.
Again,
Is that the next one?
That's
The Black
they're
album?
about.
Yeah.
That's like coming out soon. Maybe even if you're listening to this at home, it may already be out.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too, where it's like, okay, the color album thing, like cool, like do whatever you want. I think it's kind of a fun thing at this point. But yeah, you are sort of evoking something when you use white as one of the colors, and you are sort of evoking something when you use black as one of the colors, right? Because it's like there are 2 very famous albums that already have those titles. So yeah, I think
And Jay-Z already did it.
yeah, and Jay-Z already did. Yeah. Oh my God. It's I mean, and the thing is, like, I'm not holding my breath for anything, but I am sort of like, okay, they fucked us with the Teal album. Like, maybe the Black album will be okay.
Is the Teal album any good? I didn't listen. I have yet to listen to it at the gym.
I think it's mostly totally fine covers of songs with a couple songs that they probably shouldn't cover.
Okay.
Like Beat It and No Scrubs.
Okay.
But everything else, I'm sort of like, yeah, this is a serviceable, totally fine cover. I have nothing to hate about these other choices.
But the whole thing, like what you're saying with the Twitter lead up, is like the core frustration of being a Weezer fan is on a micro level or macro level in everything they do.
Yeah, and because also like it was fun and cute when it was just the 1 or 2 songs for that Twitter thing, and it's just like less fun and cute when it's a whole album of it.
Yeah.
And they also like, because they had already announced that the Black album was coming out, they did like a midnight drop and we're like, check it out. We released an album ahead of our other album. And you're like, it's not cool. But as somebody pointed out to me, I think on Twitter, it's like, I don't know what we expect from a bunch of guys who are like 50 something. It's like, they're not supposed to be cool. They're dads.
Yeah.
Like,
Then they were never cool. Is the other thing is that
right.
they were always fringe. They were always a fringe band, and I think part of what was annoying was that like at one point he tried to be cool, and it's like, you know how like Billy Joel like was never cool, but like then what he did, like It's Still Rock and Roll, and like some songs he like tried to be cool, and you're like, don't just stay in your lane, Billy Joel. Like people want you to not be cool. Just write songs that are good but not cool. You know?
Was that Maladroit?
Like
Because I think Maladroit was him trying to be cool. He got a big mirror flecked Explorer guitar and shredded on every single song on the album. But honestly, it like I think from like the optics of it sucked, but musically was actually one of the more fun albums they had, because I was like, yeah, shred, dude, it's fucking fun. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other frustrating thing. Like, they're all incredibly talented.
Oh yeah,
They're so
good
talented.
musicians.
Yeah.
They can all definitely write pop songs and stuff. They're good.
When the Teal album came out, because it was the midnight drop, the first tweet I saw about it was, well, Weezer is making a case for being the best wedding cover band.
Sure. Yeah.
I was like,
And again, it's not like they released a bunch of bad covers. They just they're probably a tight, serviceable cover band. It's like, you would hire them for your wedding.
Yeah.
You would not, go to their concert.
Well, it's just I think also after a certain point he vowed he wasn't going to write personal music again. Like I feel like he feels like he like bared his soul on Pinkerton or whatever, and then that's why Green Album is like so generic,
right?
Because he's like, I'm never going to do that again, and so now he just writes like weird parody covers almost of Weezer songs where like it's like, you know, I want to ask that girl to dance, but like I'm too scared to. Is like 90% of the songs that he writes now.
Yeah.
And you're also, and for that reason, you're like, oh, you are like a 45, 50-year-old dude, which makes it weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's not singing about like things that are emotionally relevant to his life now, which would maybe ring more true.
Yeah.
It's still just like, oh, that girl's so cool, and boy, I'm such a nerd, and wouldn't it be nice if we could dance? Like, and you're like, that's not who you are. Like, that's not where you're at. I'd hope.
Do you think we naturally like kind of escape the gravity of a lot of those feelings, or do we like feel less? This is a weird question. So it's like, because I'm somebody that like.
I just watched all of season 2 of The Punisher, so yeah, we probably feel it.
Well, so it's like it's the relatability of like wanting to ask a girl to dance is maybe something you could paste onto any part of your life. There's like an adult version of it, and there's a teenage version of it, right? But also, I think as adults, you tend to be like, oh, yeah, I know that feeling. I don't really care about it as much anymore.
That's true. And do you mean like, is it that I just don't care because it's not relevant to me, but there's like teenagers or people who are 25 or whatever who do hear it and they're like, oh, yeah, this relates to me?
No, I think I'm like asking about us as the people who are captured by Weezer in our teens and are now at this age, which is like, oh, this is this feeling that I listen to whatever a new Weezer song and do I feel nostalgic for those feelings, or do I look at what he's saying about something very juvenile and still find a way to apply it to my current life, even if the maybe like intensity of the feeling is different now. Yeah, to
me it's 100% rooted in nostalgia, because I don't think he's ever did anything that was more like emotionally confessional than Pinkerton that made me like really like, oh yeah, I want to find out more, or like listen to you more. Like everything else after that was very broad and like we are all on drugs, give me some of that stuff. Yeah, like, you know what I mean, like lyrics are so dumb, so bad, but like, yeah, so to me it's rooted in a deep nostalgia, which is why I'm always like, oh, it's weird to me that like people, I don't know if young people like Weezer now. I don't even know is Weezer like the equivalent of Pearl Jam for like young people? Like, are they just like an old band? You know what I mean?
I mean, some of my younger cousins do really like Weezer, and I think it's probably because they're such a big name. You know, like they go to the mall and they whatever CD they can pick, or what CD.
Mall? Yeah,
CD?
Pat,
never mind.
This whole sentence has been a fucking wash, dude.
They look for the latest single.
But like I mean, like it's finding the popular band that they probably play like Blue Album on like classic rock stations now, and it's like you get Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Weezer, and they're these established names that they can go off of.
I'm trying to think if they're. I'm trying to think of an equivalency for like our age group, because also the other thing, this might not be totally right for like teenagers, but there's kids who Weezer is their dad's or mom's favorite band, right?
Yeah.
Like we're that far into Weezer.
Sure.
And maybe it's not like perfect. So I'm trying to think of like classic rock artists that were still around doing stuff that we would have been like, oh, that's cool. I'm still interested at least in what they're doing, even if I'm not listening to all of their new albums. And like
U2,
maybe? U2, I think Bruce Springsteen was still pretty big when or Billy Joel's another good example. Like you said earlier, it's like stuff that we probably weren't listening to their 1999 or 2000 album, but we were listening to like our parents' greatest hits collections of them and thought they were awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
you know.
So like Bruce, for example.
Yeah.
I just watched the Broadway show on Netflix, and it's great. And something that's interesting about the way that he writes is his music grows up with him. So like there's definitely songs that when I was a kid I was like, I don't get that, and now like it's more relatable because I'm in my early 30s and like I'm growing up with the music. And I think at least for me with Weezer is kind of hoped the music would also do that,
right? But they don't. They stay in that one emotional, like they're stunted in that emotional place, whatever that is.
Well, and I think that's what separates, good or okay artists from great artists. It's like, do they grow? Because I think some of those other acts, like Springsteen's an exceptional example of somebody who like lets the music grow with them. But plenty of the classic rock people or whatever that our parents might have listened to, like when they came touring when we were in our teens, they were just playing greatest hits. Like they weren't like showcasing anything new and great that they were doing. And if they did, no one cared because it probably wasn't that good,
So what got you on this project to listen to an album of Weezer that you don't know at the gym?
One was just like wanted something to listen to at the gym, but two was like, there was this weird, deep, compulsive need to like comprehensively have an opinion about all of Weezer, I think.
Amen. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I used to like collect records. I have like very collector mentality, and like, so that's part of it. I was like, can I in good faith talk shit about Weezer if there's 10 albums that I literally don't know the songs of. You know, I can assume they're bad, but like I should probably do due diligence and subject myself to like 10 hours of bad music so that I can emerge on the other side with the like confidence to say, yes, it is bad. So it is like this weird, like self-flagellating project.
Yeah. That's why I listen to every Weezer album. I mean, honestly, it's like so I have the authority to weigh in.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You're like, no, I did my time.
I did it. Yeah.
I listened to an hour of this dross. I can speak about it.
Yeah. And every once in a while I get a little surprised, you know, which is kind of nice, I guess.
But that's the thing. But also it's such a thing where it's like, do you have an hour to spend to emerge from it with like 5 minutes of it being worth it?
I don't know. Well, but we also get the opinion. We also get the ability to have an opinion, and that is truly the value of listening to the new Weezer album. Because you could tell me to listen to a great new album of an artist I've never heard of, right? Like I just mentioned at the top of the show, this Emily King album, right? And there's some percentage chance that I'll like it, right? Like let's say 50-50, and so and even if I do like it, I still probably end that album being like, I don't really have like a strong opinion that's new to me. I probably need to listen to it a few more times. But the benefit of history is that you can listen to a new Weezer album once and have a strong, if not like biased opinion. And it's kind of it's empowering to feel like you have that, you know?
It is, because it's rooted in the assumption that they don't ever actually change. And so each time you listen to a new album, you're kind of proving that to yourself a little bit. You're kind of like hate listening to a certain extent to be like, okay, Weezer, like prove me wrong. There is a little bit of you that's like, I do want to be proved wrong. But there's a much larger part of you that's like, I'm just hate listening this so I can so that I know that I was right before I started pressing play on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh, Weezer.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know.
Well,
it's very frustrating. But I feel like the result of that whole ridiculous project was I really got into this one song and was Bummer, and I'm like, now I love this song.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, it is worth it.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And I will say, at this point, I think my opinion is slowly changing on this song. Having only really listened to it 4 or 5 times today, the way that it's kind of settling in my head, I get it.
Yeah.
It's a nice song.
It's a nice song. Like it. It's very bittersweet. The lyrics are very bittersweet.
Yeah. I mean, it is called Endless Bummer, which is such a good, simple song title.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great song. And I do think that Do You Want to Get High is worth listening to at least once just for the Pinkerton nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Yeah. Well, that was the musical journey of your 2018. But would you...
Which is reprised with all of Morrissey's output as well.
Would you share with us a low light of the last year?
Oh, yeah. I got rejected by a whole bunch of things this last year that I applied to. So it's like a cumulative low light.
Sure.
I got rejected from the Jerome Foundation, which is like a grant for making video, or I submitted a video application for them. Excuse me. I got rejected twice from Second City.
Oh man.
I got rejected from College Humor. I got I filmed 2 things and then both of them were cut for air for time. A bunch of other smaller ones, but those are the ones that like at the end of the year where I was like, God, this is like, it was very frustrating to like, oh, okay, I'm going to put in a lot of time and effort into this thing and then like, it doesn't go anywhere.
But what about a highlight of the last year?
A highlight of last year is, one is yet to happen, which is I'm moving with my girlfriend.
Ooh, congratulations.
Cool. Yay. I filmed like a part in a feature. It's like an indie feature, but like I filmed it, and that was like a big, like, career step.
Yeah.
That was probably like my big like professional highlight this last year.
Very cool.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your 2018 with us through music.
Yeah, of course.
We really appreciate it.
Song number 2, by the way, was Louvre by Lorde.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is a great song.
Hey, good song.
My Spotify was broken and was just playing a yoga ambient mix.
Jesus Christ.
So my top song of the year was Sandman Breathing.
All right, Sandman Breathing.
Sandman Breathing. Shout out,
dude.
Breathing.
Shout out to Sandman Breathing. Woody, where can people like keep up to date with what's going on with you? What are you up to?
Probably my Instagram.
Okay.
Instagram/WoodyFoo.
Can people see you regularly anywhere?
I perform on Tuesdays at the Magnet Theater with a musical team called Warm Blooded, and then once a month at UCB with a mod team called The Foundation.
Excellent. For anyone out there who wants to keep up to date with our show, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Repeater Show. You can also go to the website repeater.show for everything, because that's a website and we just put it all on there. You can keep up to date with me at eblarden on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can keep up to me, Twitter and Instagram, at Pat Cartelli.
Wow. It's so nice that we have the same handle for our accounts. Isn't it nice? We've made it so convenient.
Got
for
in there
everyone.
early.
Mm-hmm. We're just giving it away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, for anyone listening, if you enjoyed this episode, we would truly greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're not already subscribed. Which means you probably listen to this because you love Woody. You're probably a big Woody Foo head.
Or Evan, or Pat.
Or Pat. But you probably chose this one.
Or Weezer.
Because you love Weezer, or specifically their White Album.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rivers Cuomo. Thank you
shout
for
out to
listening.
Rivers Cuomo.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, this episode could go viral.
About himself. Yeah. Cover some other song.
Cover our podcast.
Yeah, cover our podcast. Oh my God.
Note for note, cover this podcast.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, the ratings and stuff really do help. And if you leave a 5-star rating and a little review, we'll read it on air, which is what we're about to do right now. Pat, would you please give us a little reader mail?
This one is from user Shuri, and the title of this review is Kayla is my boss. And the comment is a single hyphen.
There you go.
Single hyphen.
Pat, some context.
I should note that Kayla is my sister, and I think she bullied her employee into giving a 5-star review. So thanks, Kayla.
Amen. Thanks, Kayla.
Amen. God bless.
We'll also let you know that if you write us an email and you have any comments on maybe a past episode or something you want to shout out on the air, you can reach us at hello@repeater.show. So that can go in our listener mail too. It doesn't just have to be reviews, people. But that's it for this episode. Woody Foo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Thanks to everyone out there listening. And until next time,
hit repeat!
He threw up devil horns too. It was really good.
I wanted to hit it.
Repeater is hosted by Evan Ford Barden and Patrick Cartelli. This episode was recorded at Magnet Training Center in New York City, where they offer classes in improv, musical improv, sketch writing, storytelling, and more. Find out more at magnettheater.com. Visit us online at repeater.show for live dates, hot music tips, and show archives. Theme music by the Sun Lions. Everything else by Love Nest Productions. Welcome to Repeater.
In character?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeehaw!